camp and amenities and plans. All of them
Drone.
sucked.
We will in a bit.
Josh called me up last fall and he says, "Hey, TJ, DJ, what's his name?"
I won't say it because you're being videoed.
Anyway, he says,
Are you getting videoed?
He's looking for some help again this year, and I says, the only reason I stayed there, Josh, is you were there, and I wasn't gonna leave you because it was a cluster. It was a true cluster.
Well, I gave you an option because I was like, oh, I think he's bear hunting, but you can ask, you know.
God, that was. I mean, I'm glad I did it once. We go up to camp, and the whole camp was littered with water bottles, just everywhere. Water bottles, all over the camp. And so then I says, what are our mules at? And he says, oh, it's just a couple hundred yards down off this hill. There's a guzzler there that you can water them. So Josh and I grabbed a handful. We had too many mules to take them at one time, but you know, it's only 220 yards. We're gonna walk. Well, we walked down there 220 yards. I said, I don't see no guzzler. Finally, just over a quarter mile down this goddamn long-ass hill with no real trail, we found the water. And so we turned up, and I says, well, I don't know about you, Josh, but when I get back to camp, I'm going to resaddle my mule to leave those other ones down there because I ain't going to walk. So I pull into camp, tied up the two that had got water, start throwing a saddle on one of the other mules, and the guy comes over to me and says, where are you going? Because I think he thought I was going to leave me. And I says, well, that's the longest 220 yards I ever walked. I'm going to take my goddamn mule. I'm going to ride him down there to water the rest of them.
It was at least half a mile to get to water for the camp.
Holy cow.
And then we got to camp, and I noticed he had some pretty good looking tents, right? The tents were already set up. So Josh and I said, which one of these tents can we rack out in? The guy says, that one back over there. Looking tent. We walked up there, it had been raining. They had left the fly open. There was 2 inches of water in the bottom of the tent.
There were canvas teepee tents that had floors, so it just got a little water and rain in there. Luckily we packed cots so we could sleep off the ground.
So then it got to be time for supper. And Josh says, what's for supper? And he says, we're having pork chops. And I'm like, cool, man, pork chops for supper. Well, he had about 5 people working for him besides Josh and I. But nobody had a specific job. They were all just like jacks of none and masters of none, to both. So this girl started trying to build a fire. And she was fiddle farting around with this fire forever and couldn't even begin to get it to take off. So finally Josh got up and lit a fire. And I don't know how many people there was there, probably 6 or 8 people. And he pulled out a little bitty pork chop, 8 of them. And I'm like, ooh, shit, this don't look good. So he cooked them up. I says, what's to go with these pork chops? And he says, oh, there's some macaroni and cheese and stuff in there. And I went in there, little bitty containers of all this stuff. So we kind of munched down some stuff. And all of us were hungry, I'm sure, because I was still starving. And then the next morning, Josh and I get up way before daylight. We're saddling mules, you know, because we're going on this big buffalo hunt. And I look back at the guide and I says, you guys got any coffee? You know, I need a cup of coffee in the morning. He says, I think we got some bag coffee in there. So I went rummaging around in the cook tent. Well, I don't know why they call it a cook tent because nobody ain't cooking. But I find these tea bag type coffees, right? I says, well, great. Where's the water? He says,
half a mile away.
No, he says, there's some water in there, but I think you're gonna have a hard time with it. And I says, why is that? And he says, our stove's not working.
All they had, like normally have a camp with hunters there, you're gonna have, you know, a propane 2 or 3 burner stove. You know what jet boils are?
Yeah.
All they had was a jet boil.
And it didn't work.
For 8 people was 1 jet boil.
And
Fire building time, man.
He didn't have a pot to put on the stove either.
Yeah,
on
no
the
way to cook.
on the grate.
No percolator.
You heat water, you put them tea bags in a tin cup or whatever.
Well, and just leave it on the stove. But we had work to do. It wasn't like that was
I would
another
have had my
chore.
coffee first.
And then after I had my cold coffee, I said, "What's for breakfast?" And he pulled out these things. His wife had made some like egg McMuffins and wrapped them in foil, and they were frozen. And he says, "I'll fix these up for you real quick." And he threw them in the fire, and I thought, God, I'm finally gonna eat. And after about 30 seconds, he pulled it out, and it was burned to crisp on the outside because he didn't wait for the coals. He just threw them in the flames, and they were frozen on the inside. It was the most horrible camp I've ever been.
This guy is either so damn hardcore or he's stupid.
Well, we figured it out. It takes 25 years to draw a license to hunt this herd of buffalo. He doesn't worry about repeat customers.
They're never
one
gonna
and
come
done.
back.
But he gets some more fools that come in there, and they pay $7,000 go kill a buffalo. But
And now, did you see where Polis won't let you kill them when they come over into
Oh, they just
Colorado?
changed that.
Yeah.
Be considered game animals now.
Yeah.
They're what?
So before, because they're game animals in Utah, they're considered invasive non-species in Colorado. As soon as they cross the border from Colorado into Utah, you can shoot them legally without a license. So they had guys up there by dinosaurs that just hang out, keep track of the buffalo. As soon as they cross, you can go have a buffalo hunt, not have to tag, nothing.
well, I'm sure they helped a
Polis
few of
fixed
them
that.
cross that border too.
Maybe.
But now they changed it.
But now they belong to the state.
Our
It's kind of
buffalo
like
and
we
our
do
wolves.
those odd hunts in Texas. They're just invasive. You don't have to have a license, nothing. There's no rules. You can aerial gun those things at night with night vision if you want. There's no rules. And the same thing with the elk down there. They're not considered a game species, so they spotlight them at night, hunt them year round.
In Texas.
We got back from that hunt, and Josh and I were both starving to death.
Plus it's purple.
So we took his truck and trailer down there.
Buffalo in the bag. Man.
No, that the hunter took their meat. I mean, they were gone. So
Well,
we
we went back to pack out camp.
yeah. Oh, that was another terrible thing. he says, "Okay, guys, that guy, your hunters came out here, so all their stuff's still back in camp." So I told them that we would get it out for them. I said, "Well, we took it in. I guess we'll take it out." He says, "But I got to run to town, so you and Josh are going to do it." I says, "Well, how many loads we got?" And he says, 2 loads. So I said, "Okay, 2 loads, that's no big deal." But I had this one mule tied up to the trailer, and I said, "I'm not going to leave him alone. I'm going to throw a saddle on him and make him follow us." So we went down there. A mountain of crap. A whole mountain of crap. And I says, "Josh, start making the loads and we'll try." So Josh made up 3 loads for 5 loads worth of stuff. And we had to pack all that out. Way overloaded again, my mules were. Anyway, we got back to the truck and finally, we're out of here, Josh. I can't take anymore. So we go down this road and got into Thompson Springs, and there was a 7-Eleven or some such
Yeah,
store down there.
yeah,
I said, "Stop this, I gotta get some food." So we went in there, and I don't know, he got a slice of pizza and I got some crackers or something. Anyway, we hauled ass and went home. He opened the goddamn door for me to get out of the truck, and I was so stove up. I was like,
So from the parking lot from the trailhead to camp is 11 miles to the camp. And then it's 11
so we rode 22 miles that last day.
Yeah.
That hunter, when he hired us, he must have saw stupid across our head.
And you guys took how
Well,
many animals? Because you
I'm
just
just
kept
sitting
putting them
there.
in your
Being
trailer.
quiet.
We took,
I
how many
didn't
did we
say
take?
that.
8 or 10?
Yeah, I think we took everything that I had that would pack.
Yeah, at least 8. 8 or 10. Took 8 or 10 head in.
Oh, he got up there and we were leaving because he was hanging out up the trailhead for a while. So he sent us down the trail, and we had our loads and they were under control, but the two, whatever they weren't wranglers, I guarantee you, they went with us because they knew where camp was. We didn't know where camp was. And he let his dog loose who liked to nip mules. So all the way down the trail, that dog is nipping mules, right? I mean, terrible. Not just once or twice, it was a constant thing. So my mules are all boogered up. The ones Josh were leading were all boogered up. And so finally we started throwing rocks and shit at him just to get him out of there. And he went up into the rookie group up there. And of course, their mules got loose. So they're running down the trail.
They're in front of us on an old road.
Yeah, running down the trail. Of course, Josh and I don't even know this country, so I'm like, well, they're just going to go to camp. No, they got to a Y in the trail, and they went off into far yonder. And Josh says, what are we going to do now? And I says, well, I don't plan on doing much. You need to, because one of the dudes was riding his really good broke horse, Red. Yeah. And I said, you're going to go get on Red, and you're going to go looking for them mules. So he went after them and caught them and brought them back and gave them back to the people that were supposed to be leading them. And then he had to yank his saddle off of Red, give it back to the dudes, and then throw it on another horse. I mean, the whole thing was just horrible.
That was probably halfway into the ride to camp. See how this is gonna go.
Oh, I see
Now,
parts.
now we knew from when we showed up how it was gonna go because they told us to be there at 9 and ready. We were there at 9 and ready. We didn't probably leave till 11.
We jumped our horses out of the trailer, ready to go, ready to load. All of them saddled, everything. We show up there on time at 9 o'clock. They hadn't even wrangled horses yet.
BL Trails and Tales. This is how we spend our Memorial Day. Is there any reason that we are good at telling stories? We'll talk to you later.
I was just, all that just brought me back to thinking of Silver. Who was that old man that was 80 years old that always went up 10 mile with 3 or 4 guys?
Oh, hang on. I don't even have this thing.
Yeah, but wasn't he running?
You gotta turn it on. I'm just